Greetings everyone, I'm Maria Bregman and you're on the Creativities channel.
Today we are going to talk about the Romanesque style, one of the most important stages in the development of medieval European art, which dominated the 11th and 12th centuries. The Romanesque style takes its name from the Latin word Romanus, which means Roman. This is because Romanesque artists and architects used many elements of ancient Roman art, such as semicircular arches, vaults, apses, columns, and capitals. However, the Romanesque style was not simply a copy of antiquity, but a new and original creativity that combined various influences: Byzantine, Celtic, Germanic, Islamic, and others. Let's talk about architecture, the foundation of Romanesque art. The period between the 10th and 12th centuries saw a surge in architectural development, closely linked to the influence of the church, which was at the height of its power at the time. The imminent end of the world, according to church doctrine, prompted a wave of church building that led to the widespread use of stone in construction throughout Western Europe. Basilicas became the primary architectural form designed to meet the needs of worship. The Romanesque architectural style is characterized by its robustness and simplicity, with an emphasis on sturdy, massive stone construction. The buildings are characterized by narrow windows and doorways, mostly with simple vertical or horizontal lines and semicircular arches. Craftsmen of the period sought to overcome the complex structural challenges, leading to the development of cross vaults, formed by intersecting semicircular arches of equal radius, which increase the strength and stability of the buildings. Welcome to the exciting world of art and culture. I am Maria Bregman, Editor-in-Chief of Creativity Is, and today we are going to dive into the world of medieval art and talk in more detail about the Romanesque style, which reflected various historical, social, and cultural processes taking place in Europe during the Middle Ages. The Romanesque style derived from the French term Roman, reflecting its association with Roman culture, covers the artistic period from the 10th to the 13th century in Western, Central, and, to some extent, Eastern Europe. This artistic movement integrated elements of ancient Russian, Byzantine, Merovingian, and Carolingian art, creating a unique blend that came to symbolize an important phase in the development of medieval artistic culture. Let's talk about architecture, the foundation of Romanesque art. The period between the 10th and 12th centuries saw a surge in architectural development, closely linked to the influence of the church, which was at the height of its power at the time. The imminent end of the world, according to church doctrine, prompted a wave of church building that led to the widespread use of stone in construction throughout Western Europe. Basilicas became the primary architectural form designed to meet the needs of worship. The Romanesque architectural style is characterized by its robustness and simplicity, with an emphasis on sturdy, massive stone construction. The buildings are characterized by narrow windows and doorways, mostly with simple vertical or horizontal lines and semicircular arches. Craftsmen of the period sought to overcome the complex structural challenges, leading to the development of cross vaults, formed by intersecting semicircular arches of equal radius, which increase the strength and stability of the buildings. Here are some notable examples of Romanesque buildings and the architects associated with them. Speyer Cathedral, large imperial cathedral in the city of Speyer in Germany. It is the largest surviving Romanesque church in terms of size and has been a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1981. With its characteristic round arches and massive, imposing presence, it is a prime example of Romanesque architecture. Durham Cathedral, formerly the Cathedral Church of Christ, the Blessed Virgin Mary and St. Cuthbert of Durham, located in the city of Durham, England. This cathedral is another example of Romanesque architecture. The cathedral has typical Romanesque features such as thick walls, rounded arches, and a sense of grandeur. San Miniato al Monte is a basilica in Florence, central Italy, located on one of the highest points in the city. It has been described as one of the finest Romanesque structures in Tuscany and one of the most beautiful churches in Italy. The Basilica of Saint-Sernin in Toulouse, France, is another important example of Romanesque architecture. It features the typical Romanesque elements of sturdy construction, semicircular arches, and minimalist exterior decoration. These are just a few examples of Romanesque architecture and the architects associated with it. Each of these buildings provides an insight into the unique characteristics and lasting influence of the Romanesque style during the Middle Ages. Sculpture and painting in the Romanesque period focused predominantly on religious themes, with mural painting rejecting three-dimensionality and perspective. This two-dimensional, flat style complemented the abundance of flat surfaces in Romanesque architecture and contributed to the widespread emergence of monumental sculpture, often depicted in relief on walls or covering the surfaces of capitals. Sculpture was characterized by a striking disparity in scale, with the size of the figures depicted reflecting their hierarchical importance. Central figures, such as Christ, were larger than angels and apostles, who were larger than ordinary mortals. Here are some specific examples of Romanesque sculpture and painting. The tympanum of the Abbey Church of Sainte-Foy in Conquest, France. This is a famous example of Romanesque sculpture. The tympanum depicts the Last Judgment, with Christ seated in the center, surrounded by angels, the blessed and the damned. The figures are rendered in a hieratic manner, with the emphasis on conveying spiritual meaning rather than naturalistic detail. The Gero crucifix, located in Cologne Cathedral in Germany. This wooden sculpture is one of the earliest known large-scale sculptures of the crucified Christ in medieval art. It exemplifies the Romanesque style with its emphasis on the spiritual expression of suffering reflected in the elongated, distorted body of Christ. Frescoes in the Church of Saint-Savin-sur-Gardeb, France. The church is famous for its Romanesque frescoes depicting biblical scenes and saints in a symbolic, stylized manner. The paintings have a flat, two-dimensional style and the figures lack naturalistic proportions, emphasizing their spiritual significance. Sculptures on the capitals of the Church of Saint-Pierre in Moissac, France. The capitals of the church's cloister are adorned with intricately carved sculptural reliefs depicting biblical stories, symbolic creatures, and fantastic beasts. The sculptures show the Romanesque fascination with elaborate, symbolic ornamentation and non-naturalistic forms. These examples illustrate the characteristic features of Romanesque sculpture and painting, including the emphasis on religious themes, hierarchical scale, and the use of symbolic and stylized forms. The Romanesque style had a great influence on the subsequent development of European art, especially the Gothic style, which emerged in the 13th century. The Romanesque style was not only a style of art, but also a way of life, a way of thinking, a way of believing. The Romanesque style expressed the spiritual ideals of medieval man, his desire for unity with God and the Church, for order and harmony. Works from this period still amaze us with their beauty and skill. Thank you for your attention.